You are watching the Fatu Network News Review. My name is Lamin Jai, and coming up, Youth Population and Development Summit has opened today at Metsi Residence Hotel in Kololi. We have a report that will bring you a little later. Also, U.S. Consular Office is warning of fraud associated with diversity visa. Consular officer at the U.S. Embassy in Dhaka has been speaking to the Fatu Network. But first, we will start off with the papers. I have the Point as well as the Standard. I will begin with the Point today. So today, the Point lead story is saying Fatoumata Jawara accuses Jammeh's NIA of rape. Law students condemn recent social media attacks against faculty staff. Also, farming prospects promising as farmers commit to food self-sufficiency drive. Former bodyguard testifies in Yankuba Toure's case. Also, doctor says lesbianism, gay are practices in Gambia. We'll quickly go through some of the stories there. National Assembly member for Talinding and an alleged victim of the Gambian exiled former President Yahya Jammeh's government has accused Mr. Jammeh's hit squad, the defunct National Hit Squad and the defunct National Intelligence Agency, NIA, of rape. Testifying before the TRRC on Tuesday, Fatoumata K. Jawara said former operation commander of the NIA, Sheikh Omar Jeng, threatened her that if she refused to talk, he will order his men to rape her, and he did exactly that. Law students condemn recent social media attacks against faculty staff. Office of the President of Law Students Association, LAS, at the University of the Gambia has condemned in the strongest terms the recent social media attacks against Nigerian professors at the faculty. So, the Point is also reporting that doctor is saying lesbianism and gay are practices in Gambia. A senior medical officer at Serekunda General Hospital Tuesday testified before the TRRC on sexual and gender-based violence, indicating that lesbianism and gay are practices that are happening in the country. Also, former bodyguard testifies in Yankuba Toure's case. Yankuba Toure's former bodyguard Ensar Mendy on Tuesday testified in the murder case involving Mr. Yankuba Toure before Justice Jaite of the High Court in Banjul. That with that, for the Point, I will now look at what the Standard is reporting on. Dabo arrives to rousing welcome. Farmers' president says Jammeh could be better than Barrow. Also, ports must expand to cater to booming business. That's the managing director of the Gambia Ports Authority there. Yankuba Toure's bodyguard explains. That's the lead story on the Standard there, the trial of Mr. Yankuba Toure, the former AFPRC stalwart there. The Dabo arrives to rousing welcome. Thousands of supporters of United Democratic Party turned up yesterday to welcome back party leader Ousainou Dabo from a Six Nation tour abroad. Speaking to journalists on arrival, Dabo said the tour could be described as the best ever. Farmers' president says Jammeh could be better than Barrow. The president of Rice Farmers Association of North Bank Region, Sambu Damfa, has told the Standard that if Gambians allow President Adama Barrow to rule the country for 5 years, he could be worse than Yahya Jammeh, and Gambians will regret it. Also, ports must expand to cater to business, or booming business rather, MD. Usman Jobate, managing director of the Gambia Ports Authority, has said there is an urgent need for expansion on the sea and container landing areas in order to ease the workload and generate more income within a fast process. So that will be all for the papers. Now we'll bring you some of the stories we have for you. Dozens of youth from the ECOWAS region are taking part in a two-day forum or summit to discuss initiatives aimed at supporting young people in their development under the International Conference on Population and Development. The summit is being organized by the National Youth Council in partnership with African Youth Commission, West Africa Health Organization, that's WAHO, under ECOWAS, and other partners. More in this report by Jaka Sise Jaita.
Two-day West African Youth Leaders Forum on Population and Development, organized by the National Youth Council in partnership with African Youth Commission ECOWAS, West African Health Organization and other partners commenced today 23rd to 24th October. The event, being held at the Metsi Residence Hotel, Kololi, is bringing together 100 youth leaders and youth organizations from ECOWAS and the Sahel countries to share their work and initiatives at national level that advances the ICPD agenda, as well as discuss the role and contributions of West African youth in the implementation of ICPD program of action and accelerating the promise beyond the 2019 Nairobi Summit. The National Youth Council, which is hosting the summit, insists youths needed to have a safer world to live in. The National Youth Council, which is hosting the summit, insists youths needed to have a safer world to live in.
25 years ago, stakeholders, world leaders, duty bearers, and young people gathered in Cairo to decide the future. Future of not just youth and children, but of course, women and men. To look at different strategic pillars critical to our development, but also to ensuring that the world becomes a safer place for us to live in. 25 years down the line, the world is reconvening in Nairobi next month to discuss on what has changed, what are the promises, what are the missing gaps, but of course, what are the success stories. We as young people of the Gambia, of ECOWAS, and as Africa, find it prudent not to be left behind.
The Minister of Youth and Sport, who spoke through his permanent secretary, said young people should be appreciated in society as problem solvers.
Allow me to read on behalf of my minister, who due to short notice travel to Dakar is unable to be present, but send his greetings and his apologies. I quote, "I bring you warm greetings from the Minister of Youth and Sports. It is always a pleasure for me to address such a unique gathering of youth, young exceptional leaders. Since I assumed this role as Minister of Youth last year, I have interacted with young people. I sit together with them, I listen to their ideas, their challenges, as well as their innovative solutions to our various social problems. Young people in the Gambia would agree with that. Youth should not be perceived as troublemakers, but rather as solution providers to our challenges."
The resident representative, UNFPA The Gambia, took participants through the history of the 1994 Cairo Summit.
I'm indeed very pleased to be here this morning because this happens to be one of many events that we will call, we as UNFPA would like to tag Road to Nairobi. And what is the Road to Nairobi? It's about the ICPD. And so I would just like to take a little minute to just go back on the ICPD. 25 years ago, world leaders, experts, young people, rural women, and all stakeholders gathered in Cairo, having participants from over 150 countries to determine the pathway for the future of the people. And in Cairo, a landmark statement was made. That was the first time that population issues was determined by the individual and not just a statistic. It was the first time that a woman was treated and looked at as a person with a human right, and to look holistically at how to develop our population.
The forum will discuss key lessons from the ECOWAS region in terms of what youths in West Africa are doing to accelerate delivery on the promise from Cairo. For the Fatu Network News Review, Jack CCJT reporting.
And now, registration is open for the 2021 U.S. Diversity Visa. This is a program that enables thousands of people who live outside the United States to enter the world's most powerful country to live legally and live there permanently each year. But some people are taking advantage of this program to scam people by asking them to pay money in order for them to be part of this program. I have spoken exclusively to the consular officer at the U.S. Embassy in Dhaka, Christine Parker, who is currently in the country. That interview airs now. Hello there, my name is Lamin Jai. So the 2021 US Diversity Visa Program has opened, the applications or registration has opened, but I'm not really sure how many Gambians are aware or know what this program is all about. So I have Madam Christine Parker. She is the consul officer or the consular officer at the US Embassy in Dhaka, and she would be talking to us about this program. She's here in our studio. Madam Parker, thank you very much for coming to our studios to talk to us about this program.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
So now, let me ask you this. Tell us about the history. How did this visa program come about?
Sure. So the Diversity Visa Program was created in the 1990s to make sure that the U.S. was attracting immigrants from countries that historically had a low rate of immigration to the United States. So it's a lottery program that participating countries, their citizens can go in and enter a free lottery for the chance to essentially win an immigrant visa or a green card to the United States.
So the program is meant to attract people who live outside of the U.S. to come and live legally in your country. What specifically is the objective?
Sure. So the objective is to make sure that the United States is maintaining a diverse base of immigrants to our country. And so we're really opening the program to countries that have historically a low rate of immigration to the United States.
Tell us, how does it play out? How does the program play out?
So every year we open an online entry, which is open for about a month, and anyone from a participating country can go and fill out an online entry. There's no cost. The entry form asks for some biographic information, some information about the person who's entering and their family members. And then the following May, we let people know whether or not they've been selected for further processing. And at the end of the day, those people who are selected may end up with an immigrant visa to the United States. Every year we're issuing about 50,000 immigrant visas to the United States based on the Diversity Visa Program.
So do you have any specific group of people that you are looking out for, or this is just open to anybody or anyone who wants to apply?
It's open to anyone from a participating country, but there are some requirements that are important to keep in mind. One is that you have to have at least the equivalent of a high school education in the United States. So that's a senior secondary education or 12 years of education to qualify. Or you have to have 2 years of qualifying work experience. It's pretty difficult to meet that standard, so most people qualify based on their education.
And you talked about participating countries there. So do you have some countries whose people are not qualified to apply?
Sure. So some countries that have high rates of immigration to the United States already, for example, Mexico shares a border with us. There are lots of immigrants to the United States from Mexico. They are not eligible to try to get a diversity visa lottery. But countries like the Gambia, with a smaller rate of immigration to the United States, are certainly eligible to try.
So now let us also talk about the issue of people, because you have certain countries who your country has issues with in terms of issues of terrorism, for example. So do you have any way of screening people, for example, as a way of not attracting someone who might have extremist beliefs, for example?
Sure. So that's a really great question. And of course, as much as we want to facilitate legitimate travel to the United States, we also need to be aware that we have to protect our borders and protect the interests of the American people. So just like with any other visa application, we run a broad spectrum of security checks against anyone who travels to the United States. And anyone who ultimately gets a diversity visa has to undergo those same checks.
The issue of fraud, then, I understand this is something that scammers are also trying to take advantage of, trying to find a way of extorting money from people on the pretext that they can help them secure this. How serious is the issue of fraud in this?
That's also a great question. And Certainly any program that has a free entry for the chance to win a residence card to the United States or green card to the United States is going to attract some bad actors who want to take advantage of people who are interested in the program. So we've certainly seen scams in the past where these bad actors have sent emails to people or tried to steal entrants' data to communicate with them and tell them that they need to pay a lot of money before they can get a visa. I can absolutely tell you that anyone who receives an email that says they won the diversity visa is absolutely being scammed. That's a fraudulent email that should just be ignored and thrown away. We also will never send anyone an email asking for money. So if anyone gets an email asking for money for a green card, they can know that that's fraudulent.
So people should understand that this registration is free. There is no monetary condition attached.
Absolutely, the entry is free, and we encourage people to do their own entries. It's a pretty simple online form. It asks for some general biographic data as well as a photo for the person who's entering and their family members. There is no advantage in having someone assist you with that or paying somebody a lot of money to assist you with that. Everybody has the same chance.
So let me bring you a little bit back then. This program, this year's program, or the 2021 program, when did it open and when would it close?
Yeah, so it opened on October 2nd. It's open now and it closes on November 5th.
And where should people go to, for example, to apply?
So there's only one website where you can get information, the real information about the diversity visa program, and that's www.dvlottery.state.gov. That last three letters are really important. .gov, that's the real website.
.gov. Okay, and also can someone, for example, apply multiple times? Is that possible?
No, so you can apply one time per year. So if you applied last year, you submitted an entry, you didn't get selected, you can certainly apply again this year, but you can only enter one time per cycle.
One time per cycle. Great. So let me bring you back to the Gambia. Has any Gambian won this lottery? Has it ever happened?
Absolutely. There have been many Gambians who have won the diversity leader and diversity visa and immigrated to the United States on a diversity visa. In fact, we had, I believe, more than 60 winners of the diversity visa last year, and many of them got visas to the United States.
So do you have challenges at all, aside the fraud aspect? Do you have any other challenges in respect of this program?
Sure. So I think the biggest issue we see are people not entering information correctly on their entry. That's really important to make sure that we know who the person is at the time they come for their immigrant visa interview. The second issue we see are people maybe adding some family members who aren't really their family members, thinking it gives them a better chance of winning the diversity visa. The key is to be honest in the entry and honest in the application with your real circumstances and your real identity information.
And what is the U.S. State Department doing in terms of offsetting that challenge?
Sure. So every immigrant visa that we issue has to go to somebody who's qualified for that visa. So unfortunately, if we see that there's false information provided on the application or a DV entry, we have to deny that application. So somebody who enters fraudulent information or maybe adds a family member who doesn't really exist might end up spending money for an immigrant visa that they don't end up getting.
And how is, you talked about the issue of people not entering their information correctly. Does that have to do with their low level of awareness in respect of the program, or is it just deliberate?
So I think it could be a variety of things. I think a lot of people just aren't aware of how careful they need to be when entering their information to make sure it's done correctly. Sometimes we also see people pay a visa assistance company for help doing their entry, and maybe that visa assistance company just isn't as careful as they should be entering that information correctly.
Final words? Do you have any?
Yeah, so again, I recommend that everybody fill out their own entry, make sure the information is correct and clear for the person who wants to enter the diversity visa for a chance at that green card, and also not to fall victim to scam. If you're getting an email telling you you won the diversity visa, it's fraudulent, throw it away. And if you get any request to pay money outside of that process, outside of actually going to the U.S. Embassy for your immigrant visa appointment, know that that's fraudulent.
Madam Consular Officer, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's Christine Parker. So this is where we will leave it for the review. Thank you very much for being there. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.